Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have a very inspiring show coming right up with special guest Brian-Benson, and he's here today to share with us his new book, Habits for Success: Inspired Ideas to Help You Soar. Now, Brian, in 2008, followed a hunch and left his family's golf center business and stepped into the unknown. Ever since, inspiration has followed. Letting intuition be his guide, he has begun to step out of his comfort zone, and unexpected paths and talents started to emerge, such as writing, acting, and crafting stories. Tapping into this emerging creativity, Brian began his hero's journey of self-realization and growth, which continues to influence his empowering and inspiring books, films, and presentations. So let's welcome to the show, Brian-Benson.
Thank you, Marianne. It's a pleasure to be here.
You know what, we've been connected on Facebook and social media for some time, and I see these just phenomenal posts from you going across. I'm so glad you have this book because now I can get it all in a book.
Well, thank you. I'm really, it's been out about 7 weeks now, and I'm really excited how it turned out. I'm really proud of the book, and yeah, thank you. It's been fun trying to get it out there into the world in different ways.
Well, you should be very proud. I mean, from the cover to the content, it's top-notch. I found it to be a really great read. And I would love for you to share with our listeners kind of what started you on this path. I mean, because it seems like you know, creativity and success is just in your blood.
Well, thank you. I wish it was that easy. I think the book is basically kind of a culmination of the last 10 years of my life. I left my family business 10 years ago into the unknown. I really didn't know what I was going to do, and a lot of what you see me doing today, I honestly had no idea was inside of me. And I just kind of followed my intuition. I knew that I needed to leave the job. I kind of felt like I had finished growing there, and I just felt like inspired to just step out and see what was next. And I think for me, the turning point was I ended up having to stay an extra year because we decided to sell the business, and we had to go through that whole process of trying to find a buyer, et cetera. And I was just so bummed out because I wanted to hit the road and to see what lay before me. And I sat down one day because I was feeling quite out of balance. And I just decided to write down 5 things that I felt would help me stay in balance during this period. And they did help me. And then my intuition started screaming, expand the list and write a book. And I'd never written anything before. But I just kind of let it come through me. And before I knew it, I ended up self-publishing this book in a whole bunch of different ways to stay in balance. And so that kind of, when I ended up finally leaving the business, that kind of gave me a little bit of direction and pointed me in this crazy journey that I've been on the last 10 years. So to answer your question, the book Habits for Success is basically me journaling and kind of being in the observer's role and paying attention to my own kind of hero's journey this last 10 years. And, I paid attention, I tried to be the best version of myself and gain self-awareness along the way. And so everything that I write about, I think there's 48 chapters, they're all just different habits or ways to think and be that are potentially incredible foundation builders for each of us, and ways to maybe, implement into our lives to really, learn how to become more self-aware and really kind of get ourselves in alignment with our true selves.
Well, and is that what you use to determine what topics went into the book? Because, I mean, you've got some phenomenal topics, and we'll be covering some of them here in a little bit. But, I mean, there are things that people either most of the time they don't know or they don't really pay attention to, or maybe they're unaware of.
Yeah, I guess for me it's just everything that kind of, like I mentioned a second ago, that has happened to me has been kind of accidental, but I mean, I would just follow my intuition and I would act on something that I felt like I was supposed to do, even though it didn't necessarily make sense at the time. And before I knew it, I had another book or I had a short film, and a lot of it came out of just everything that I've kind of created has been an extension of my own growth process. When my first book came out, I was terrified to speak in front of people. So I forced myself to do a lot of things, like take some community college speech classes and do Toastmasters. And I hired someone to be a co-host with me on an internet radio show. And, I took an acting class because I thought that would help too. And and from all these steps out of my comfort zone, which is one of the habits, a new world kind of started opening up for me, and new opportunities started happening. And I just started learning that I had a lot more inside of me than I realized. And so I just kind of started to let it all come out. And, so the habits in the book, they're, some of the more important ones for me, I think originally probably were the strive for balance. And it's no coincidence that my first book was on a whole bunch of different ways to stay in balance, because that's kind of been a rock for me. You know what I mean? Just gaining that self-awareness of what keeps me in balance and what throws me out of balance has helped me weather some storms, these last 10 years as I've kind of gone through the ups and downs of what I've been doing. Stepping out of your comfort zone, that was another one that was very important for me. Listen to your intuition has been incredibly important for me. So, there's just tons of different things in here we can talk about. For example, I just opened the book, and there's another one that says always do your best work. Another one that says create awareness. I like to get creative is another habit. Be vulnerable is another habit. And I just try to write about each topic in kind of an inspiring, entertaining, and thought-provoking way, and share a lot of personal stories and just really let the reader know how each habit played a part for me and why it meant so much to me, and how it plays a role in helping kind of keep me, moving forward and learning and growing.
Well, and it seems that the topics that you've written about are basic kind of universal truths for people if they're looking to have greater fulfillment, happiness. You talk about balance, all that in their lives, which really are kind of the cornerstone of what makes a person feel like they are either hitting their life purpose, and having passion in their lives, as opposed to maybe not feeling like they're so successful.
Well, right. Thank you. There isn't necessarily a magic pill in here, and I know that some people would love to have a magic pill, wouldn't we all? But they're all foundational builders, and the more that you can, integrate them into your life and just become aware of how it's important and just become aware about yourself, things just get easier. Now, ultimately, we all are very similar. We all want the same thing, I think, essentially, to love and be loved, right? And I just lost my train of thought. and I think, that we're all just, I don't know, these are just ways to learn how to become more accepting of ourselves. And I really believe that once we learn how to love ourselves, everything else falls into place. So ultimately, that's kind of, I think, the most important thing that we can actually do, as a spiritual being, having a human experience, is to learn how to love and accept ourselves. And so all of these habits can help us gain the self-awareness and get us on the right track for that, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. And, I'd like to go back to balance, because I think that for a lot of people, they don't really understand why balance is important to have in our lives. And how is balance so important for you?
Well, I think for me, it just, there's a lot of reasons. I mean, balance is a tricky little thing. It's kind of a moving target. So, we're not always going to be the same every day. And so the more that we can learn what triggers us to fall out of balance, and the more that we can identify what we can do to help stay in balance, the better off we can be. But there's a lot of reasons why we would want to have balance in our lives. I think it just allows us to live a more proactive life rather than a reactive life. I think it allows us to be a truer version of ourselves. And ultimately, for me, I notice that when I'm in balance, I'm able to pay attention to and listen to my intuition more clearly. And so I think that's huge. I mean, if there's one thing I can try to help people do is just learn how to listen to and trust your intuition, because it's guidance from God, the universe, spirit, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of a blueprint or a roadmap that I feel that can really guide us to true fulfillment and happiness. Because a lot of most of the time we're kind of looking outside of ourselves for that and trying to do it in different ways that aren't always that fulfilling. But this journey that I've been on, I've just been following my intuition, and it really has turned out beyond my wildest dreams. I mean, I had no idea I was heading this direction, but I just trusted it and honored it, and I continue to be amazed, and my mantra has kind of become just happily expect the unexpected.
You got to love that, because for a lot of people, they may be saying, well, I need to learn how to trust my intuition more, or use, because a lot of times they think of intuition and maybe, turn right or turn left, as opposed to something that can be used in all areas of your life.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I really didn't know any of this was inside of me. I mean, when I was 3, I told my mom that I was put here to inspire people. And she reminded me not too long ago, and I had forgotten that. But once I kind of got on this path of trying to create positive media in a whole bunch of different ways, it's like, whoa, I've kind of already maybe kind of had my life's mission kind of planted in there. You know what I mean? And so it's interesting though, but it took me to think out of the box and just to trust what I was coming through to me to really be able to tap into it. And so, it's real easy sometimes to try to control things too much. And, I try to do that in different ways. And I know that we all do a little bit. But for me to really figure out and find out what was going to, just this path that I'm on, I really had to let go of control. And I think that's a very important thing for us to do as well. If we can, we have to obviously do some things to kind of manage our lives, but if you can really trust in the unknown and what in your gut, there could be a lot of cool gifts out there waiting for you that you really didn't realize were part of your plan.
Yeah, except you had some great insight at 3.
Well, I didn't really. I just told her what I was feeling as a little boy. I didn't really, know what it meant or anything other than I just, yeah. And it's funny.
That's classic, though. That's totally classic, because you do hear kids that come in and they're like, I'm going to change the world doing this, or I'm going to find a cure for cancer, and so you get these different. These kids that just come in and they know what they're going to do, Yeah. It's, I almost, and this is going to sound really far-fetched and make me seem a little nutty, but I almost kind of feel like our lives are already kind of lined up for us, and they can be, we all have to go through stuff to go through the whole learning process, and a lot of it's not easy. But I think it can be a little smoother. We can take the bumpy road, or we can kind of maybe take a smoother version of it if we honor and listen to our guidance. And, so that doesn't mean it's all I still struggle with things. I mean, Oh, yeah. Everyone does. It's part of the whole human experience,
Absolutely.
So, being here, and, I mean, it's probably going to be fun. They never said it was going to be easy,
Well, I'm trying to make it more fun. It's funny, when I wrote my first 2 books, I hadn't really learned, gained that much of self-awareness yet, and really hadn't really, had that foundation of knowing who I was and such. And so I put a lot of pressure on myself to be almost perfect and pious, because here I was writing self-help books and I lost myself. I'm kind of a silly guy and witty and stuff. And I'm just, I've been aware of it for the last couple of years. So I'm just really trying to just go back to that and just be me. And I can still do it. And I think it's more effective, actually, if I'm being my authentic self rather than somebody who, I don't know, you know what I mean? It's just, it messed me up for a little bit, but it was a lesson I needed to go through.
Yeah, I think everyone has a path to authenticity. It's not, because we have so much programming that comes to us from our parents, from school, from people we work with, you name it. So it's easy to kind of fall into that without really realizing, well, where am I through all this,
Well, yeah, and I did, I took over my family business and ran it I grew up working in it, and I ran it for 11 years, and that was just, I wouldn't change a thing because it was all kind of supposed to happen that way, but that was kind of part of my programming, it's just the way it is, and the more that we can kind of just open our minds and just be open to just new and unexpected possibilities, I think the better off we can be.
Mm-hmm. So for our listeners that are, tuning in and enjoying us and joining us for this discussion, what are some ways that they can improve their intuition?
Wow. Well, I think exercise is good. It's interesting looking back at all those years when I was racing in triathlons, all those, a lot of those long bike rides and long runs that I went on, they were kind of a form of meditation for me. I wasn't really aware of it like I am today, but they were definitely, forms of meditation. I think living a healthy life can help us, hear and listen to our intuition better. Food makes a big difference, in our energy levels, and I think movement is important. Go for a walk. I love to walk, and that's just where I usually get a lot of my really good ideas for blogs or stories or whatever, and I'll just kind of voice it into my phone and email it to myself, and boom, there you go. So I think movement is really good for that. And balance. The more that we can stay in balance, I think the easier it is that we can just kind of be in that place and be a little bit more of an open receptacle to receive.
Being able to, there's a lot with that, having that openness, that open mind, being able to have those mindful moments. Because when you're running or exercising or going for a walk, it's an all inside game. There's usually not a whole lot of people joining you for that.
Right, absolutely. I think intuition is kind of a private thing. It's a meditation. Obviously, I didn't even today mention meditation. That's huge too. Just to quiet your mind and learn how to do that. And that's been really wonderful for me as well. But yeah.
Do you meditate every day and every evening, or just when you can? How does that work for you, and what do you suggest?
Well, I think everybody's a little different, but I've kind of gotten into a little bit of a rhythm where I'll maybe do it either in the morning for a little bit to kind of get my day started, or I'll do it in the middle of the afternoon just to kind of, as I'm starting to get a little bit tired, I'll do that, and that really refreshes me and kind of resets my system. And so that's what I really enjoy. But I know I have tons of friends who love to do it in the evening or, whatever is a good time. And, that's just a conscious actual sitting down and meditating. But I'm like we had just talked about, I'm kind of getting bits and pieces of it in when I go for a walk or if I go exercise or what have you, and just kind of, turn my brain off that way too. And I just thought of another really good way to kind of help allow your intuition to kind of come in through stronger as well, and that's to try and eliminate negativity from your life.
That's a good one.
I think that's very important as well.
That negative self-talk can really be a Debbie Downer, you know?
Yes, absolutely. Negative self-talk and just, unfortunately hanging around people that maybe aren't as positive as you want to be as well. That can kind of be a tough one also.
Well, on that note, we're going to pause here for a quick break. We've been speaking with Brian Benson in regards to his new book, Habits for Success. You're listening to Moments with Marianne. We'll be right back after these messages.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
There comes a moment when you realize you're somewhere special, when you discover that each beautiful creature that you see has been rescued from a life of absolute horror and brought to this incredibly free place. Here's where their lives were forever changed and where yours will as well. Discover over 500 tigers, bears, and lions at the brand new visitor center at the Wild Animal Sanctuary just outside Denver. For more information, visit wildanimalsanctuary.org. Discover true freedom at the Wild Animal Sanctuary.
Have you ever had the sense that your thoughts might actually be doing something? Ancient secrets of manifesting have been masterfully revealed in the award-winning book Manifesting 1-2-3 by Ken Elliott. For the first time, the author's experiences and stories in this book describe exactly how your thoughts can create anything. You've been doing this all your life, but it's never been fully explained for you until now. Visit manifesting123.com for more information today. Manifesting123.com.
There are nearly 2 million Americans living with amputation. Many live right here in San Antonio. Becoming an amputee can be scary, frustrating, isolating, but there's no reason to feel alone. The San Antonio Amputee Foundation is here to help support you and guide you toward resources such as home and car modifications and even prosthetic limbs. For more information or to make a donation, visit saamputee.org. We'll help you live a full, active life, one step at a time. San Antonio Amputee Foundation, healing limbs, hearts, and souls.
Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. We're here today with special guest Brian Benson, and he's sharing with us his new book, Habits for Success. Now, Brian, before we left for break, we were talking about negativity, and there's something to be said about really assessing where you are in life and who you're spending time with and who you're choosing to spend time with when we talk about people who are a little bit negative. And it's interesting when we start down the path of self-reflection and self-discovery, and we start making those changes in our lives for focusing on the positive and not engaging in gossip, things start to shift, and they start to shift quite drastically. And sometimes we lose friends or relationships, but it allows room for better things to show up.
Absolutely. I think that's a given, right? I think we can all probably, as we kind of become more self-aware and grow and want to expand ourselves, that unfortunately sometimes people get left behind a little bit.
Or just things transition, Well, What I loved about your book, Habits for Success, is at the end of every little chapter, you had moments of clarity. And I like that because for people, it gives those important pieces from the chapter so that they can refocus and plan.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I'm glad I put those in there. I mean, I think it's just a great way for people to also start to become more self-aware. And I mean, they can either, take an action step from it, or they can just at least just, read the question and kind of internalize it and see how they'd answer it. You know what I mean? And I think just that alone is tremendously powerful, because they've already kind of seen me answer it, with the way I talk about it and what worked for me, et cetera, and why I think it's an important thing to do. But then they can really kind of dig in a little bit more and just let it run through their heart filter and see what it means to them.
Well, and then also look at that and go, gosh, okay, these are things I can start implementing in my own life to make change. Exactly.
Yep. That is my goal, to take over the world and have everybody.
Yeah, world domination. I get it. Okay.
No, that's so not me. I mean, I don't really ever try to tell anybody what to do. I just try to lead by example and share, what has worked for me, and just give everybody. I mean, we're all similar, but we're also, kind of have our own little paths as well, and different things that we might be working on, and what something might mean to you might mean something different to somebody else. But I guess I want to just be a mirror up there, just to let people kind of take a peek and then let it resonate within themselves and see how it shakes out.
Well, with all the readers that are writing into you and connecting with you and giving you feedback on the book, where are people telling you that they seem to, in their own lives, be the most stuck or need the most help? What areas seem to resonate the most with them?
I think the one that probably resonates the most is just probably a lack of belief in oneself. They're all, well, I think a lot of us, I mean, I'm still working on it, but I mean, I really had to work on it really hard, just that whole self-acceptance thing and self-love thing, and learn how to receive and feel like I was worthy to receive. And I think a lot of people, are going through that and working through that, and it's scary, because I mean, at times you kind of just feel kind of hopeless in that place, and hopefully through some of these habits, it helps them open up a little bit more. And ultimately, I just want everybody to know that they're enough, just being who they are and what they have to work with, and once we can really get to a place of accepting that and loving that, then I think, things can get a lot easier. There's that, it eliminates a lot of that. What's that?
Don't we all want that,
Oh my God, yeah. Oh yeah, because I mean, most of the time, there's so much energy that we spend on trying to find happiness outside of ourselves, or trying to keep up with the Joneses, or trying to do this or do that, and it's a lot of energy and a lot of just, I don't know, wasted time, and we all do it, and we all have to go through it. But there's just a lot of, once we can really learn how to love ourselves, everything falls into place. And I think that bit of self-confidence that can come from that just really can open the door to a lot of things.
I would have to agree with you. It seems like a lot of people, I mean, I've gone through it myself, where we get to this point where we feel like, oh, we're not good enough. Oh, I don't feel loved enough, whatever the enough is, we get into these places where, having books like yours, Habit for Success, would really help somebody kind of find a little bit more clarity.
Thank you. Well, that's, it was for me just as much as for anybody else. And I hope that for those that do pick it up, that they find a lot of value in it, and it helps remind them that they are perfect and whole just the way that they are, and that they deserve to be happy.
I think everyone does. I agree with you. You have a few chapters in here that I think some people might pick up your book and go, What is this? Why is it okay to fail? I don't believe this. Why When you talk about that in your book, why would that be something our readers and our listeners would want to embrace?
Gosh, I know that does sound so like, what are you talking about? But I think it's really important in that it is okay to fail. I mean, we have to get ourselves out there and try, and we can learn so much from failure. You know what I mean? Maybe it's something that we don't want to do eventually, or maybe it's something that we do and we just have to figure out a little different way to kind of get around it and get, just to master it, or to get into that place of understanding it. So, I mean, we can always find knowledge no matter, what happens. And I think it really all just I keep saying self-awareness, but there is so much that can be learned through failure. I mean, I honestly believe, you look at a lot of the successful things that have happened out, to people, or the things that we take for granted and use every day, like the light bulb. I mean, you probably heard this story, but I think it took Thomas Edison 10,000 times before he perfected it. I mean, it's a good thing he stuck at it, right? I mean, there's lots of other, there's lots of stories out there, and I think, I don't know, it is okay to fail. I mean, once you do finally get past whatever is the sticking point, I mean, maybe you just weren't quite, maybe it wasn't supposed to happen quite yet. You needed a little bit more seasoning, and when it did happen, you were ready and your foundation was stronger, and then you were really able to share what you created, if that makes sense. I mean, I know that's kind of been the case for myself. I've kind of had an inkling of an idea of where things were headed for me, kind of even from just at the start of this 10-year journey. And there's been times along the way where I felt like maybe I was more ready than I was. And I would, whenever I released a book or a project, I kind of felt like in the back of my mind, it's just the thing that's going to kind of get me out there a little bit more. And I'd have these grandiose expectations. And when it didn't happen that way, it messed me up for a while. It led to depression. Instead of just really just being happy for what happened and the creation that I brought and celebrating that mini win, I kind of got a little down. And that was a really good lesson for me, because I began to not have fun. And there's no, what's the point? And that was kind of happened to me a couple years ago when I really became aware of it, when I released my first children's book, Steve the Alien, and it hit #1 on Amazon for a little bit. And I had every reason to be really happy and joyful, but then it kind of led to me being kind of really bummed out. And that was kind of I write about it in the book. It was kind of the camel, or the straw that broke my camel's back in that regard. And it really helped me become more aware of just staying in the present moment, really just celebrating each individual thing that happens, and really just enjoying creating just for that sake of creating. I mean, because that's really what makes me happy, is the process of creation. And then just trusting that it's going to get out to whoever's supposed to see it when they're supposed to see it.
Yeah, it's easy to see that, because, it's really easy to see that you have this great creative streak, because it's like anything creative you touch turns to gold. You've got a lot of great things that you've worked on and you continue to work on that have really come to great success. And it's interesting, because people look at that and they're like, wow, I want to copy some of that success in my life. And you really have written about how to do that and habits for success.
Well, thank you. I mean, I'm really just paying attention, kind of like I said earlier, in the observer's role of my own experience, and this is just kind of what's happening, and I'm just happy to share and to help other people along the journey, because there's a great quote by Ram Dass that says we're all just walking each other home, and I think I have that in the book as well, and I love that, because it's so true. It's so easy to feel like there's separation between us in different ways in different countries, and et cetera, but we all come from the same place, and we're all here wanting the same thing, and so we got to help each other out.
We are all just walking each other home, So.
Absolutely.
Well, in your book, you have this whole area, this section of your book that's called Lightbulb Moments. And you talk about allowing yourself to feel. Why don't you share a little bit of that with our listeners?
Wow. Let's see.
Like the $1 million question, right?
No, it's all right. Yeah, I mean, it's, that was so hard for me to do, and I think acting has really been huge for me in that regard. I moved to LA 5 years ago. I felt intuitively I was supposed to come here for the books as well as to pursue acting. And acting for me, although I've taken a little bit of a step back on it this last year because of the book and some of the other things I've been doing, acting has really, the classes that I studied and took, and it was just kind of a wonderful way for me to learn how to feel more in public. And it also, gave me an education in front of the camera, but learning how to feel and be vulnerable and express ourselves is so important, because I think most of us bottle up probably 85% of what we want to share or say or let out or release. You know what I mean? And so learning how to feel and be vulnerable is so important. Brené Brown has an amazing TED Talk on vulnerability that I watched a few years ago, and that really inspired me. So yeah, I don't know if you've seen that or not, but it's just, and it's not easy because I'm kind of an outgoing introvert. So there's a part of me that's public, but also kind of private. And so I have to kind of walk this fine line of really sharing, but yet also kind of keeping a few things for myself. But ultimately it's good to, it's good to be honest and authentic with how we're feeling in a moment and with the people. And the more that we can convey those thoughts and feelings to others, and communicate, the better relationship we're going to have with them, whether it's, it's a intimate relationship or just family or friends, you name it. I mean, it really, the more that we can communicate and be open and honest, just the better off we all will be.
Gosh, isn't that the truth? And it's interesting. A lot of people go through that thing where they're going, how much is too much to share? And I don't want to put everything out there. I do want to keep some things private.
Well, and we see people on Facebook, some of them, their social media, just letting it all hang out. It's like, okay, that's too much.
Oh.
Or just, but it's also a way for those, for us to support other people that are going through tough times. So it's amazing how just in the last few years, how we're getting this nudge in some ways from social media, as far as sharing goes and just letting people in to peek into our lives. Some more so than others.
Yeah, it's a very interesting journey because, I mean, there are things, even myself, there's stuff I like to keep very private that I don't share. And things that, that I'm like, hey, this would be something I think people would find of value, So it's that line you have to walk.
Exactly.
And it's got to be more difficult for you because, you're doing that, you're doing movies, you're acting. So, there's a sense when you're working with, in the fields that you're in, that people feel like you should be more accessible.
Yes, that's an interesting point. And sometimes it's, wow, I get messages and notes and stuff, and, before Facebook changed its algorithm on its business pages, 2-3 years ago, I'd put a post out there and it could get passed around 2, 3, 4 million times, and I would get emails from people all over the world, and some were really, were tough. I remember one person from Pakistan said that he wanted to kill himself. Please help me. And there's others that were just, not like that, but just some romantic overtures. You name it. It's a little bit of everything. And it was a lot for me because I hadn't really grown into my skin yet. And I was still kind of trying to figure out who I was and solidify my foundation. So it kind of messed me up a little bit, but anymore, it's fine. It's good. I like receiving, notes and connecting with people. There's sometimes when I can't just because I'm pooped. I'm wiped out. I need to kind of refill my cup, and so I'll give myself a little bit of a break. But I definitely try to do the best I can, and for sure. I don't know, how do you handle it?
Kind of the same way, do what I can, and there's only so much bandwidth, so
yes.
you can only do so much in a day, and it all is kind of on what you can get to. Because physically, you can't get to 10,000 emails, or even 100 a day. It's like, that's insane.
Right, and as things have gotten a little busier for me, and my direction has gotten a little bit clearer. Yeah, you're right. The bandwidth is just so much, and I'm trying to. I guess I'm trying to convert some of those maybe folks into coaching sessions. You know what I mean? So it just it's a little easier for me. I can go a little more in depth. I don't know. I think it's just it can better. I don't know. You can give them more attention that way, and it also allows me to kind of feel like how do I say it? I'm just having to become more cognizant of my time, and as you are as well. So, yep.
Yeah. Well, and and those kind of things like coaching sessions are great resources. People can develop communities in coaching sessions with other people. If you do group coaching or if you do one-on-one, and it allows, especially if you're seeing many people that are having the same types of responses or questions or issues, challenges, however you want to call that. You can address it all kind of in a group setting where other people can kind of be present and help.
That's a great point. And if, those are recorded and saved and maybe put up someplace else, then we can direct those same questions down the road to right back to that particular session or whatever. And that's all stuff that I kind of have in mind that I'm wanting to do, but it just takes time.
Well, so let's talk about your coaching. People who are serious about their success and they are going, gosh, you know what? I want to take it to the next level. I want to get these things. How can they connect with you, and what type of coaching sessions do you offer?
Well, I'm all about really helping people gain more self-awareness, because I think once we have more self-awareness, our foundation becomes stronger. And then if somebody does have goals and dreams that they want to realize, you got to have a strong foundation and self-awareness to move toward it in a much more, it just allows things, it gives you a lot better chance to be successful. You know what I mean? So I think ultimately that's what I'm here to do, is just try to help people become more self-aware and do some digging and make sure that they're on the right path to, self-acceptance as well. I'm all about just helping people strengthen their foundation and however that might look. You know what I mean? Everybody's a little bit different, but that's what I really like to focus on.
So if our listeners are out there and they're trying to decide if they're a good fit for your type of coaching, what are the type of people that you look for?
Wow. Just people that are really people that are hungry to learn and learn about themselves and to grow, because that's who I am, and that's who I've always been. And I really, really have a soft spot in my heart for people who want to become a better version of themselves. So, that I love working with people who really are ready and open to the process. Because sometimes, people will say they are and, they'll get going, but yet they're just kind of maybe don't have all skin in the game, if that makes sense. Or they're not really quite ready to kind of, just really take some hard looks at maybe how they're, currently, operating. And, so I love people who are hungry and really want to just, keep moving forward and are excited about that.
Wow. I couldn't think of a better person to have coaching sessions with than you, because you know about creativity and success. and developing those habits that will get people to that next level. So I couldn't imagine anyone that does it better, you know?
Well, I appreciate that. I love to share. And so, yeah, in all different kinds of ways. But, yes, the way that people can find me is on my website, which is the letter G, brian-benson.com. I go by my middle name, Brian, so brian-benson.com. And there's, all that stuff is on there, the creative little movies and books and all that kind of, lots of fun stuff on there. And then they can also find the new book, Habits for Success, via the link habitsforsuccessbooks.com, and that'll take you to Amazon.
Well, that is perfect. And also they've got places where they can, of course, again, we were talking about the coaching, where they can look into that, learn more about you, be part of your community, and, of course, sign up for your newsletter. Well, Brian, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity. I really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you, Brian. It has been such a pleasure to spend this time with you and, of course, to talk about your new book, Habits for Success, Inspired Ideas to Help You Soar. Again, if you'd like to connect with Brian, you can at his website. It's brian-benson.com, and we'll have the link below. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Sunday, Monday, Thursday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.